Welcome to my craft table. Hi, this is Jamie Magritte. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It's like the faux bleaching. I didn't use bleach, I used the white craft ink. Let's get started. We're going to be using a Wild Rose. We're going to be using this one, and this one, and the leaves. And then there's a hello here we're going to use. We have a piece of gorgeous grape, which is 4 by 5 1/4. Card base itself is one of the gold foil edge cards. It has matching envelopes. For inks, we're Craft Whisper White, Versamark, Granny Apple Green, Lovely Lipstick, a couple empty blocks to pick up ink with, a couple water brushes, gold embossing powder, embossing buddy, a brush to erase some if we need to, and our heat tool, and gold edge ribbon, and a couple glue dots or tape runner, whichever you prefer. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take our white ink, a couple of these over so I have room here. I'm going to take this image from the flowers and remember which way it needs to be. I have it backwards, I think, this way. I'll try and remember so I don't have an issue lining up the top image. Okay, so we're going to ink it with the white ink. I want to make sure it's inked fairly well. I apologize if my camera's wiggling. I tried putting a stand for my embossing tool here, and I think it's making my table wiggle. I might have to change it. Okay, so we're going to put one of these down here. How far down is it? Like that. That's alright if you don't get a super perfect image. And then we're going to turn it and put one up here. I might need to re-ink my white. That's a little bit better. Okay. Oops, I still need that out. One thing I did forget was to clean off my ink pads with. This one's dry. You don't want to let that craft ink sit on there. It dries on, it's hard to get off. Job in a minute, because this isn't what I want. Okay, let me put you on pause. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I found my chamois so I can get it better clean. I was trying not to use my chamois for the white ink, but it'll wash. Alright, now I'm going to do the leaves. I'm going to do one over here. Over here. Okay, this one I might not have room for the hello on, because my leaves are in a different place, but that's alright. Alright, now with the craft ink. And we're going to dry this, and then I'll come back after I've dried it. Okay, I'm back. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our detailed one, and we're going to need the embossing powder. And the embossing buddy is kind of important at this point because craft ink stays wet, so we're going to emboss all over. We don't want ink, embossing powder to stick where we don't want it to. Okay, Versamark ink. Ink this outline one up really well with the Versamark ink. And we're going to stamp this outline image. Alright, one more on this one here. Okay, then we'll do the leaves, the outline for the leaves the same way. Okay, put the lid back on it. Bring in our embossing powder. Cover all that embossing ink. Very nice. Take a second to the brushes, if you had any anywhere where you didn't want it, to wipe it off, but this one came out pretty decent. Put that back in the bottle. Okay, aside, bring my board. And we're going to heat emboss this. This will be a little bit loud. Put it on second setting. Let it warm up a little bit. When it starts to melt and turn shiny, we move on to another area. Get to do the fun part. Come in with the water brush. And first thing I'm going to do is take the water brush and move around this white ink. some spots will be darker than others. It's alright. I'm just going to smear it around. That's what makes it look like the bleaching technique. You don't have to do it neatly. I just want to make sure there's a little bit of white in most spaces. You could use a regular paintbrush and water if you don't have a water brush. They're fairly inexpensive, and I think you received 2 of them in the catalog. Alright. Now I'm going to put you on pause, and I'm going to finish this other flower. I'll do exactly the same thing, and then I'll come back. Okay, let me show you how that looks. It looks kind of sloppy and messy. Just kind of smeared around that white ink that you'd stamped on there. I missed a spot here, I see. Okay, so you've just smeared it around. Okay, now we're going to take our colored inks. We're going to stamp some onto a clear block. I find that easier than trying to squeeze the color into the lid. It's also a little bit neater. Okay, then you're going to take your water brush, and I just squirt a little bit of clean water onto my table because it's plastic. And you're going to dilute that water a little bit, or the ink a little bit, and color in your. And I start darker at the base of the flowers where the details would be, and just get a little bit of color down. Kind of blends with that white ink as well. So I'm going to get a base of color down, and then I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of a darker color where I want it to be a little bit darker, like that. Okay, so I'm just going to color this in. It's alright if there's a color variation. If not everything is covered, that's fine too. I'll have a towel over to the side here to wipe my brush on if I get too much color on my brush. Okay, then I'm going back in with a little bit of a deeper color. It's too strong, wipe off your brush. Any place where the petals are going to overlap, or where there's those lines in the stamped work, is where the darkness is going to go. Just blend it out. Over here. This would probably be dark. Darken this one. Okay, so there's the flower. I'll do the other one off, and then I'm going to just squeeze the water into my brush, wipe out till it runs clear, And go into the green and do the same thing with the green. And if you get too much water on your brush, wipe it off on your towel. Or you can use paper towel, that works perfectly fine. Alright. Same exact thing. Put some color in, go back in and add a little bit of darker color. Alright, now I'm going to turn you off again and I'll be back after I do this other flower. Okay, now that it's dried just a little bit, I'm going to go back in and add just a little bit more darkness to a couple areas. This is not a necessary step, I just find it adds a little more contrast and brings out a little bit more definition to the flower. This one. I'm not pulling this darkness out, I'm just kind of laying it in there. Alright, there we go. As it dries, it evens out just a little bit. Let me just wipe off this mess, water off my table, and we'll put this card together. These inks out of the way. Alright, so we're going to bring in our base. We're going to bring in the ribbon. We're just going to lay the ribbon across the center of the card, or wherever you'd like to put it. You could put it like here maybe. That would be pretty too. Maybe I'll do that on this one. And I just take a couple glue dots. Glue dot or two on the back of the ribbon. Oops, stick. Place it on the card. Fold it over the back. Come in with scissors and snip this off. Oops. So I need add a couple glue dots to the back of that end. Fold it over. Okay, then we're just going to add a bow. And I think I'll just tie a bow and glue it on with a glue dot. Let's see if these scissors will cut the ribbon. Oh, perfect. Alright, add a couple glue dots. Let's put the ribbon there. Okay. Now if you want to add a sentiment, you could add your sentiment on. Let's go ahead and do that before I mount it to the base, because it'll warp it. Let's bring in the Versamark. I'm going to add it over here, I think. Embossing powder. I should have done this before I put the ribbon on, but okay, let's heat set that. that I did forget to show you is on top of this embossing where we painted, if you just take a clean rag and do a little buffing over the top of it, any paints that was on top of the embossing will wipe right off and it'll become shiny again. Alright, now let's take our tape runner or our glue. Let's use wet glue because it's a little bit warped. Right over the ribbon. Place it centered on the front of our card. And these again are the gold foil edge cards found in the annual catalog. In the note card section they have matching envelopes. There we go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day.